Welcome to Pet Sitter Confessional, an open and honest discussion about life as a pet sitter. This episode is brought to you by Time to Pet and our friends at Pet Perennials. How do you run a business and make a transition with family members? And what's the importance of data in making good decisions? Today, we're really excited to have Corinne Moore, owner of Paws and Claws and Pawsome Metrics, on the show to talk about these and a whole lot more here that we'll cover, I'm sure, Corinne. Super excited to have you on the show and get to speak with you today. For those who aren't familiar with you, don't follow along with the stuff, and shame on them for not doing that. Tell us a little bit more about who you are and all that you do.
Hi, yes. My name is Corinne Moore. Thank you so much for having me, by the way. I'm very excited to be here. And I own Paws and Claws Pet Service over in Madison, Wisconsin, which is a dog walking and cat sitting company. And I also own Pawsome Metrics, which I believe we'll go a bit more into. But basically, we help people in our industry find their metrics and their data and give them some confidence to make data-driven decisions in their businesses.
Yeah, really excited to dive into that because I know that that's a part of running a business that a lot of people don't consider. But about Paws and Claws, when did you start pet sitting, and what's your background there?
Yeah, so unofficially, my first client was when I was 8 years old.
Okay, nice.
Pablo, the orange tabby, but yeah, he was the best. But officially, I actually worked for Paws and Claws when I was 18. My sister founded the company back in 2009. I worked for her for a little bit, and then went off, did my own thing. And I actually bought Paws and Claws from her back in 2019, right before the pandemic. So, you know.
A wonderful time for lots of business decisions. When you were working for your sister, what was that like?
It was actually really great. We get along really well. We're close. She was pretty new. We were very new, very small. But it was that, when she wasn't available, I would go and walk the dogs or play with cats. And it went really well. She was a great boss.
That's well, it's interesting because I hear a lot of things that don't go into business with family members, stay away from entering these kind of ventures. How did you guys make that work, or did you have some rough patches that you had to work through?
So I won't pretend that it's always been, sunshine and rainbows, but I would say that we've done a really great job of respecting each other's boundaries. And when I was working for her, it was very much okay, she's my boss. I'm the little sister. I'm the staff member, But when I did go into the role of actually purchasing Paws and Claws, and we were kind of equals in that, and she was handing me the reins, it's been really great. We had a lot of, interactions with giving each other feedback and having these great discussions where we dove into just everything. And so honestly, I think that it's been good. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it sounds like that word communication, right, is really important there. And I think often when we get involved with a family member in business, we cannot communicate at the level that we would if it were, a quote unquote stranger, right, or a business partner, because, well, they're family, right? They'll understand, or they're family, so it's going to be just fine. And we make all of these assumptions, and then all of a sudden you can go, oh, that's actually, oh, I guess I should have brought that up. I'm sorry. Like, okay, no, that's where that mistake comes in, of where we go, oh, I don't need to communicate because, oh, it's just, my sister, or it's just, my spouse. Like, it'll be fine. But we need to remember that when we do have those business hats on, when we are working in this together, that there is that level of communication that we really have to maintain. Otherwise, things fall through the cracks.
Right, absolutely. And I think that something that I learned that was hard for me to learn at first was that, yes, you have your own opinions, you have your own feelings, and that's valid for sure. But sometimes other people may have perspective and experience that you may not. And although they might not know your specifics, they may be able to give you some feedback that you might need to hear. So just taking what they say, digesting it, maybe taking it with a little bit of a grain of salt and understanding that they don't know your specific situation, but just being able to hear and listen to others that have the experience is really valuable.
Yeah, that's really hard too. That's really, really
Yes.
hard because, well, to take that step back and have to be honest with ourselves and go, okay, I don't know everything. And this person also has their viewpoints and their perspective and their background and their history. I need to be, at least be open to listening to that instead of just immediately shutting it off and going, nope, well, I thought of this, so we're here we go. Like, and then down the road we go.
Yes, I am happy that we have not gotten, we've been pretty good about it. It's not like we bring up fights from 20 years ago when we were children. So
Well, so what was that decision like to come in and buy the business from your sister? Kind of what was going on around that time, and why did you think that that was what you needed to do?
yes, so it was actually a win-win for both of us. I had I worked for her when I was 18. I went off, did my own thing. I joined the Marine Corps. I was on active duty for 4 years, and then I went to college, and then I was blessed with a beautiful baby girl.
Mm.
Um, and that was back in 2019 when I had my daughter.
Wow.
And I had not finished college. I didn't have a degree. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And my sister said, "Hey, I want to pivot into doggy daycare and go that route. And I want to sell the dog walking and pet sitting side of Paws and Claws. Are you interested?" And
Mm.
I said, "Absolutely." It was a win-win. It gave me a career. She has 5 children, so she keeps busy. And she was doing something that was, it was not smaller, it was just different.
Yeah.
So it went from Paws and Claws being this all-encompassing everything pet care to being just dog walking and pet sitting. And she took the daycare side and did her own thing. And that's been great for both of us.
Yeah. Well, it's
So.
nice. It allowed you to have that focus, right? Of just this opportunity that was going, well, here's where I am right now. I already have a little bit of background in this. I have experience in this, and why not move forward? Basically, at that
Yeah,
time.
yes. And it allowed me to move back closer to my extended family. So I had that support network with my daughter, and it was just a win-win-win all around.
We mentioned your background with the Marine Corps. I was curious how that's shaped or influenced kind of your approach to business operations or things like that.
Yes, I send all of my employees through boot camp. No, I'm
Nice.
just kidding.
Nice.
Just kidding.
Oh, come on, Corinne. No, it's fine.
No, honestly, it's made me more resilient for sure. I think that it's given me some quick thinking skills to be right on my feet when there are issues that arise in the company, as they do, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
and I think that it definitely makes me a timely person, which is good
Yeah.
for the most part. So,
Man,
yeah.
that quick thinking. I'm reminded this almost on a, let's say, every other day basis of how in running a business, you're kind of just doing your thing. And especially whenever you have employees out in the field or you have managers, stuff, the business is doing stuff and you're focused on other things. And it's kind of unpredictable as when things are going to pop up. And all of a sudden, it doesn't even have to be a major fire. It's just, hey, here's a new thing that we've got to tackle right now. And that ability to stop, pause, pivot, get in the right mindset, focus, ask good questions, and then move forward. That is really invaluable in running a business at any scale, really.
Yes, absolutely. And as you and I and everybody listening knows, there is always something that will shock you in this company. You cannot be prepared for everything. So it is really important to be able to just adapt and overcome.
How do you do that in that moment? I mean, I know that's a skill that you learned and honed, years in the Marine Corps. So for people who are listening to this who may struggle with that and always feel really, I know what happens is that feeling of being flustered and unable to focus, and kind of it takes a long time to kind of get in the groove. Any tips for how to start, speeding up that process?
Yeah, and it's actually something that I think I learned almost as a mom, um,
Oh,
which
yep.
is kind of funny. But you know, you have a toddler, right? And she's having these big feelings, and it's similar to the big feelings that we might encounter when something out of our control is happening, and we need to figure out how to react to it.
Mm.
So really, it's just like being able to ground yourself, to take those deep breaths, calm your body, which will calm your mind, and then from there make an action plan. Because if you're in this space of these big giant emotions, you're gonna act out of those emotional spaces, which might not be the most logical thing to do, and you might make a decision that you would regret if you had calmed your body down first. So as simple as that sounds, just taking those few moments to just digest what's happening, process it, take those deep breaths, ground yourself, and then from there, make an action plan.
As you're talking, I'm reminding myself of all of those times with our kids of when those big emotions come up and you're going, hey, just take a big breath, right? We're going to do 5 breaths. And how much more do I need to remind myself of that in the moment where you get the email or you get a phone call or you get a Slack message and you go, oh, and it's just, no, breathe. I'm going to
Yep.
take 5 breaths and I'm going to focus. And sometimes you have to verbalize kind of what you're feeling to start processing, to get it out of your head so that you're not just running through kind of unrestricted of just these multiple cycles of how bad things are. I need to just say out loud how I'm feeling right now, and then I can start going from there. Really, that simple step of just take some breaths first in order to refocus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we've even had to coach a few employees through that process of, I get a phone call kind of, and there's a panic and you hear that panic in their voice. And it's just like, okay, first off, like, are you okay? Okay. Now I need you to take 5 breaths. And then I've really helped getting people to, you can talk about grounding, like trying to find a way to become more present. It's like, tell me what you see, tell me what you smell, tell me what you hear. Then you can see as they're touching on all their senses, they start to think more logically, think more rationally, and kind of calm themselves back down so that we can have that conversation of how to overcome whatever they're encountering. And sometimes it's not even a big stress like an injured animal. It could just be they got flustered because the door lock was being weird that day or whatever, right? And it's just taking those few moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many grounding techniques I love the like the tactile things, like, what can you feel? How does it feel? But if you look up grounding techniques, you can find a ton. And I think they're really, really useful.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, we never know what's going on. And that's just a little bit more exerting that intentionality and control over our world around us. When sometimes we feel like it's kind of spinning, or I don't know, sometimes spiraling out of control. And it's
Yeah.
like, I need to latch onto something so that I know how to move forward with this.
Yes, absolutely.
And so you said you took over the business in 2019. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Right before the pandemic. What was that process like? Because you're taking over an existing business. When did you start to change it and make it your own? And kind of what was that like?
Oh, yes. Well, the pandemic kind of, you know, shifted that.
Yeah.
But even into 2023, I still felt like I was running my sister's company, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, which was great, but I think I wasn't it wasn't what I exactly envisioned. And so at the end of 2023 is kind of when I decided that I wanted to make some changes and figure out what was best for myself, for the company. And from there, I made a bunch of really big decisions that were scary but paid off.
Have you heard of Time to Pet? Chrisanne from Raining Cats and Dogs has this to say.
Becoming a Time to Pet client has been a game changer for us. We can give our pet services clients real-time, cloud-based information they never imagined they'd be interested in. And most importantly, to me personally, I can better manage my company and look forward to more. And not a small thing, Time to Pet is responsive to my requests for new features and modifications to existing ones.
If you're looking for new pet sitting software, give Time to Pet a try. Listeners of our show will save 50% off your first 3 months by visiting timetopet.com/confessional. What was that process like of kind of, I don't know, I was going to say finding your voice in the business, but expressing that direction that you wanted to go?
Yes. Well, for me, it kind of was decided for me. I had a bit of a health scare at the end of 2023. I ended up in the ER. And it was for what I didn't know was just a big anxiety attack. And it manifested as like almost like stroke-like symptoms, which was very scary because I thought I was having a stroke. And that was just the world telling me, you need to slow down. You cannot do all this all the time. And I decided that I was going to make this company a little bit different for something that worked for me. And that's when I kind of started listening to some of Michelle Klein's webinars where she talks about niching down and making, her company just dog walking. And that was the craziest concept to me. I was like, there's no way that could happen for my company. But it did make me think that there was probably a way that I could niche down my services, my hours, and get a bit better of a work-life balance than what I had. Because my mindset at the time was, I need to work more so that I can make more money. And it was really, really hard to break that.
That is a trap that we fall into, especially when running our own business. We think logically, the only way I make more money is if I do more. And then all of a sudden, my schedule is completely full and I don't get a break. And I am working 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week, 365 days a year, because that's the only way that I can make more money. What are you talking about? Instead, right. And it does make sense. Like that is certainly a way to do it. And too often we think it's the only way. And instead going, there is a balance that I have to have. And you had that shown to you in a trip to the hospital, right? Of going, right. That's not okay, right? And going, and we all have those things that come up. If it could be all of a sudden, I'm really, really flustered and everything is just sending me through the roof and I'm not a good person to be around or whatever that is, or we're not sleeping well, or we do have these health scares that come up and going, those are signs. We need to pay attention to those to go, how I'm operating is not how I can continue to operate. So I have to do something different. And that's sometimes the kick that we need to start thinking a little bit differently.
Right. And I think that the way that it was run before was great. But I think after the pandemic, I panicked and I was like, that's when I was like, I need to keep working and working and working and working. So rebuilding the business was just so hard on my mental health. And I am really glad that I pivoted and made some big changes that I needed.
Yeah. So right now you're doing dog walking and cat sitting only. Is that right?
Yes. Yep. Okay. We dropped dog sitting. We dropped overnights. We dropped a lot of things. And now we are just 7 to 7, dog walking and cat sitting only.
Nice. Well, and in looking at your brand too, a lot of the language that comes out of there, was that something that you put in there, or did you find that attracted the right clients? You have a lot of, paw rinse and possums kind of thing, kind of thing yes. in there. Was that something that you were like, oh, I need this personality, or did you just find that connected with the kind of people you were looking for?
So a lot of that was Pet Marketing Unleashed. They did a fantastic job. Okay. So I really wanted to connect with my target client avatar, and they did a great job just piling on the puns and the bright colors, yes. which I think is great. So a lot of that is attributed to them, but it is definitely the tone that I love for our company, because I want it to be, not that we're not serious, but seen as a little bit less serious and more playful and, accommodating.
That is such a fine line to walk as a business owner of how do I still have personality in here while also conveying the professionalism and the serious tone that we take this, because you don't want to just be, finger guns guy coming into a room going, hey, everybody, what's going on? Nobody wants that. But like, how do I have more of a tone that people, respect and they understand, but also it speaks to them specifically. And that is just a balance that we have to walk as we decide who our client avatar is and what they are looking for from a business.
Right. Yeah. And I would totally just be finger guns guy. So I actually have a t-shirt with finger guns on it. So
see, I know. No, we think of that too, because just going, man, I want people to get that fun sense. I want them to get that passion sense, but I also want them to make sure that we are also conveying the professionalism, and choosing our words are important. That's where that copy editing and the copywriting and the colors, all of that is what we go, how do I want somebody to feel when they think of Paws and Claws? How do I want somebody to feel when they think of my business? And that takes a little bit of trial and error, working with a professional or getting feedback from your existing clients too.
Yeah, and they did a fantastic job. I was so pleased with it. It was a total tone shift and just everything shift from our previous website and branding, but it was really, really great.
Yeah. Well, especially whenever you're going into the dog walking, right? Because that does convey more of fun, enrichment, exercise, exploration kind of thing, and not, it's kind of big overlooming, dog care, for multiple days and all this stuff. Like it is a little bit more lighthearted, I guess, is kind of the feeling.
Yeah.
How was that pivot for you? You mentioned how you were kind of struggling with that, but you saw a way to move forward. What was it like deciding, okay, I can do this, or were you just like, no, I have no other option, I have to do this?
Some of it was I felt I had no option, and some of it was I like a challenge. Oh. I am somebody that kind of thrives on just meeting a challenge. But I knew that I wouldn't be able to do this unless I knew my numbers, because as much as I love a challenge and these big lofty goals, I also am somebody that needs to know that it's possible. So I really dove into my numbers, and from there, I felt confident to make the decision to cut basically half of our services that we provided.
When you say numbers, what are you talking about there? Because I do see a lot. Know your numbers. What kind of things were you looking at?
Yes, so I was looking at how many overnights do I book a year? How many dog sitting visits do I book a year? How many is, and then just like the percentage of revenue of my entire company, and then just like comparing that to what are my pain points. And my pain points, my biggest one was always staffing for those bedtime dog sitting visits, which I know is a big thing in this industry. That's a big pain point. And staffing for overnights, and figuring out staffing when your overnight sitter is sick. What happens then? So really diving into not only like the numbers of visits for these overnights, the revenue of these overnights, but what was my cost of labor for these overnights? What was the average client spend of my overnight clients over an entire year versus my dog walking clients over an entire year? How long did I retain these clients? How happy were my staff with these visits? Just diving into a lot was numbers, but then there was also a lot of like emotional components as well that, though they shouldn't be your biggest decider, are important to consider.
Well, and a lot of those emotions are surfaced when you look at those numbers, right? You have to emotionally process those, because you come in with a lot of preconceived notions and biases about what kind of business we think we're running, and go, man, I'm maybe doing fine. And then you dive into the numbers and you go, ooh, I'm actually not doing as fine as I thought I did. Oh man, what does that mean? And you have to process that. But looking at what is the composition, we Megan and I have this conversation a lot. What kind of business are we running? Now, what kind of business do we think we're running? And those two are different sometimes. We think I'm running a pet sitting business, or I think I'm running a dog walking business, but man, most of my revenue is coming from XYZ, or it's only coming from 2 or 3 clients. I'm not actually a dog walking company. I'm a company servicing these 2 people. Right?
Right. And what I had found, which I thought was very interesting, was that a lot of our dog sitting visits that I thought was like we needed it. We needed to keep these dog sitting clients. Most of them were not dog walking clients. It wasn't the same. I thought there was more of an overlap between the dog sitting and the dog walking, but there wasn't for us.
Yeah.
And it was also a much smaller percentage of our revenue than I thought. And so that's when I decided to cut that service, because I was like, well, it actually is our lowest performing service. And it's keeping us having these business hours until 10 p.m. And that's just not worth it to me, to have to staff these additional hours, to have to figure out coverage if somebody's sick. And, it's 3 hours before the bedtime let out. I was running into the field after my daughter was in bed, my husband was home, and I would just be like, I'm sorry, I got to go let out a dog. Yeah. And it was just not worth it for our company.
Well, that gets back to that mindset of I've got to work all the time to make all the money. I've got to be doing this. This is just what I have to do. And when you can actually look at the numbers, it starts to peel back a lot of those assumptions away, especially whenever you overlay it with, now where are my problems? Like you mentioned, okay, let's look at revenue. And now let's look at percent of problems and pain points and frustratedness. Oh, wow. The one that brings in the least amount of money is causing me all of my headaches.
Yes.
I wonder what would happen to my quality of life if I didn't have that anymore. Now, that's still a scary decision, because at the end of the day, money is money, right? Revenue is revenue. But if you take it from the perspective of, if I could reduce 80% of my headaches in whatever this is, what would that allow me to do in the other areas of my business?
Absolutely. And I think it was a hard lesson for me to learn, but I'm really grateful that I cut those services, because having the 7 to 7 is so much better for me, and I think my staff and my company.
Well, and you layered on the staff too, of that's critical to this. Of we'll send out surveys periodically of I just asking, like, are there any clients that you don't enjoy seeing? Are there any clients that you don't, or any types of work that you're doing that you'd rather not? Just to get a pulse of what are some of the expectations of our staff, and that really can give you a lot of insight into the things that maybe you personally enjoy, but your team may not personally enjoy, right?
Yeah.
And going, well, then maybe that's why I'm having so much issue staffing, and why my turnover is so hard, because I'm asking people to do stuff that I love, but they really actually hate.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that my team loved overnights, and that's why we kept them. Turns out we only had like 2 people that actually like to do them. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. That kind of information is really huge. And so when we talk about gathering data, we do have to sit and think about it from a couple different perspectives, because it's way more than just revenue, right? It's both. It is both qualitative and quantitative whenever we're collecting that.
Oh yeah, and staff makes or breaks your company for sure. I think that having happy staff is probably one of the most important parts of a company.
Yeah, especially whenever you're looking for that more balance, and as you're looking to grow, from 1 staff to 100 employees, like they matter, and they are important and critical to running the kind of business that you're looking at. And even if you don't have employees, make sure that you're touching base with yourself of going, okay, I took this visit on, or I took this poop scooping on because that's what they asked of me. I'm gagging the whole time that I'm out here. Why did I accept this for $30? This is, no, thank you.
Right.
Or, however much you're charging, like, you have to check with yourself too.
Yes. Somebody once told me that you own your business so you can make it your own.
Yeah.
And that I don't know why it took me so long to actually digest that and be like, oh, you're right. I can make changes for my staff, for myself, and make us all happier.
Right. It is a mindset that we fall into of, well, I guess this is like this is what I have to do. I just have to do this. Because that's what I'm to do. Somebody asked me, I guess I have to do this, instead of going, well, do I want to? Is that actually beneficial for me? Like, we can ask questions about what we take on, and so that we know that at the end of the day, we are running that business that we want to, that we actually have a balance, we have a life outside of it, and we are actually happy about what we get to do.
Yeah. Isn't the concept of having a life so like crazy to us business owners sometimes?
Here, let me take a note about that real quick. I'll get back to you, Corinne. So you're tracking all these numbers. How much time does that actually take you? And should we be doing this weekly, monthly, annually, or kind of what's the mix there?
Yes, so I am a numbers gal, so I do it weekly. But I would recommend at least doing it monthly or quarterly. I would say quarterly if you're a solo company, and monthly if you are a team-based company. And the reason that I say you could probably do it less quarterly is less if you're solo is because there's just less metrics to keep track of when you're not accounting for like your labor cost and staff retention and everything like that.
Yeah, because staying on top of wages is really important, and making sure that you still have a healthy margin there to cover your business expenses, and you can make money off of that, because that does change as people, a lot of people hire and they go, great, I hired somebody, and then they go, oh wait, do I need to give raises? How do I know if I give raises? What if I want to keep this person? If the person works for me for 7 years, are they going to be making the same amount now as they did? I need to figure this out and see how those change over time, right? That's a big thing where we get excited about hiring and we bring them in, and then we go, ooh, now I need to keep this person and make sure they stay happy.
Yes, for sure.
And so what kind of numbers do you wish more people tracked than you see now?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think that cost of labor is definitely something that every business owner should know. I think that more companies should track the breakdown of their visits. So how much of your company is cat sitting? How much of your company is dog sitting? How much is poop scooping? Because I think that the breakdown of visits, revenue, and everything is some of the most eye-opening things that you can see, because like we discussed earlier, you may have some preconceived notions, but when you see the numbers on the paper, it might not match what you think. Another thing that I think is really important for business owners to track is actually their time, and just looking at what percentage of your time is spent on X, Y, Z tasks. And you can even, assign some emotional component to that. Like, how happy are you doing payroll? How much time do you spend on payroll a week? How happy are you doing, marketing? How much time is spent on that a week? And really figuring out how much you work and what you work on.
Yeah. Well, I love you keep using this word track. And I think that's really important to highlight, in that these are not a one-time calculation. And you don't just calculate the number and go, great, 13%, and then delete, right? It's like, no, we're going to go put that number somewhere so that I can do what? I can compare to it later and see if I'm going up, down, or staying the same. Like that,
Yes.
That really gives you a lot of power to see what direction your business is heading.
Absolutely. And I think that looking at historical numbers can really be eye-opening and will give you a good sense of, am I headed in the right direction? Am I headed in the wrong direction? And what do I need to do to pivot and fix things?
Well, especially whenever you set those goals of, okay, maybe I want to bring on X number of dog walking clients this month or this year, or maybe I want to expand into this new service area, or I want to do X, Y, Z. Like, how do you know whether you're making progress. Like the last thing you want to do is wait till the end of the year and then look at your revenue and go, great, cool, we did it. Like there's so much more time for course correction if you do it way more regularly.
Yes, absolutely. So that's why I'm a fan of the weekly check-ins, but I know that not everybody wants to do it that often.
Our friends at Pet Perennials make it easy to send a heartfelt condolence gift directly to someone with a broken heart. They have this awesome direct-to-consumer gift model that takes the effort off of us and ensures a thoughtful, personalized sympathy gift reach our client or employee on our behalf. All gift packages include a handwritten card, colorful gift wrap, and shipping fees across both the U.S. and Canada. They also offer an array of milestone gifts and greeting cards that can be sent to celebrate birthdays, extend get-well wishes, and welcome new and rescued pets. Additionally, there are gift choices in case you need to send a sympathy gift in memory of a special human client or celebrate a pregnancy, engagement, or wedding of a pet lover. If you're interested, register for a free business gift perks account to unlock the all-inclusive discounted package prices. The service is used on an as-need basis, so there are no monthly or annual obligations or minimum purchases. Learn more at petperennials.com. Check out their business programs or register for a free gift perks account by using the link in the show notes. Well, you mentioned tracking our own time as well. You have a lot on your plate, right? You're running your business. You've got the Pawsome Metrics. You're also a mom, and you have this life going on. How do you get everything done?
Oh, yeah. And I also just finished my degree in 2023. So I went back to school during that.
Well, congratulations on that, too, because you went back for biology. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, awesome. That's really fun.
I just like to throw stuff on there. No, I'm just kidding. So honestly, time management is a big thing. And also delegating to certain tasks to staff members has really helped. I have a lot of staff members that might have different strengths than I do. And so just being open to, like, maybe somebody on your team might do marketing a heck of a lot better than you. So being open to that, listening to their ideas, and then giving them, the space to shine in your company is great. As far as time management for everything on my end, I like to have 3 tasks a day, and I tell myself that that's what I'm going to do. Anything above that is great, but I have 3 tasks that are doable within a day. I knock those out. Everything after that is gravy.
I love how you added that 3 tasks that are doable today. I think often I'm really bad about read book. And there's no way I'm going to be able to finish a 300-page book in a day, but I'm like, it's on my list. And so making those much more like read a chapter or, work on email, it's really about making it so that it's manageable so it can be completed. And that's not to say you don't tackle big projects, but what it is saying you're making them smaller and much more manageable so that you're also putting that time constraint of, no, this is doable in a day. How do you know that, right? Because I think that's what a lot of people get to the point where they're like, okay, I'm going to make tasks. How do I know how long this is going to take for me? Is it just a gut feel that you have, or do you have a secret system that you'd like to share with everybody about being?
Yeah, so I actually use an app called Todoist, which is also on the computer, and it's really great because you can I label everything with a time frame that I think it'll take me, and then I'll look at all my tasks that are on my list and say, okay, I have time to do these 3 things. But as far as estimation, that's just been trial and error because I went through a really long period of being like, I can do 15 things in a day. That's fine. And then you get to a point where you're like, oh, I can do it for maybe one day. And then I'm tired and I can't do it next. So, just a lot of trial and error.
Well, and what I like about that too, Corinne, is it's adaptable because those are 3 tasks that you have to get done, but it's also dependent on the day, right? So sometimes you may have 3 tasks, but the anticipated time it's going to take to get them done they may be really short if you've got a busy personal life that day, or if you've got other things going on that are more important. You can still go down your list of, oh, this is I've done it before where you've got like, okay, this task could take me an hour. I have an hour to do things today. Great, I can do that. I can do that. Yeah. But it takes planning. And so, do you do that on a weekly or monthly basis where you're adding more tasks into that, or what's that process like?
So I add tasks the second that I realize I have to do them. Otherwise, I'll forget. So, memory of a goldfish here. So, I look at my tasks at the beginning of each day, and then once I'm done with my work day, I don't look at them again. Like I'm done. I'm clocked out in my mind. Yeah. For the rest of the day. So I won't look at them again until the following morning.
Yeah. And having that rest is really important, isn't it? I've gone through periods where just try and keep pushing through, and you're always on at that point. And it's then hard to process new things if you never get that little, even just that break of I'm done at 7 or I'm done at 8 at night or something, or whatever. Give your brain a little respite to think of something else.
Yeah. And that's something that Michelle Klein had mentioned in one of her seminars or her mastermind, how she did basically clocking out at 5 p.m. And she was like, all right, I'm done for the day. No more emails, no more nothing. And that the concept of that was so foreign to me. When I heard that, I was like, wait, you can do that? You can do that as an entrepreneur? But yeah, you can. And you probably should have those set hours.
It's hard to stick to, though. I get those, especially if I don't turn off my notifications and I see that little email pop up and it's just sitting there and it's that client request, and it doesn't take me that long to approve that. It's just for one thing. Let me real quick.
Yep. And then it's a slippery slope. And the next thing you know, you're running payroll at 10 p.m.
Because you're trying to get ahead. Yeah. Oh, you're trying to get ahead for the next day. I'll just do this one little thing. And then, while I'm here, you're right. I will just, and what's this? And I've got it. We think we're doing a lot. We think we're being really productive, but we're actually robbing from ourselves the next day because we're pre-using that energy that we need for tomorrow. And if we don't wake up refreshed and ready to go and on our game tomorrow for who knows what's going to come up, we're already working out of a deficit, and it puts us that much further behind.
No, 100%. It's all about that, work-life balance. We can have it too as business owners.
And we think it's pretty elusive because it quote unquote all depends on us, right? If I don't. But I like how you started off talking about being productive and doing everything by going, it doesn't all depend on me. If there's somebody in my team who's better or maybe has more of an interest in this, why aren't they doing this? And then that way I can get a little bit more rest and they can be doing something that they love. Like that really is a win-win decision.
Yeah, it is. And it's a total game changer, I think, when you're not in charge of everything in your company. Because not only does it help your mental health in your time, but it also, you can get some perspective that you would have never had just as yourself. And it can really help your company in ways that you wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's really cool. What would you say was your biggest challenge over the last couple of years?
I would say burnout. Because I'm somebody that likes to just throw everything on my plate, which I think a lot of business owners are like that. And because I was working such hours that I was equating hours in the day with money, which is not a healthy mindset to necessarily have. I got really burnt out. And I think that I had a long time fighting that. So I believe that was probably my biggest challenge.
Yep. Especially whenever we do think, if I don't, something won't happen. Or if I don't, it'll all come crashing down. And we get a lot of that comfort when we do start looking at our numbers, because then we can take that big breath and go, oh, well, I don't have to. I don't have to take on that client. I can say no. I've met my financial goals already. Wow, that was nice.
Yes, saying no is so empowering. But yes, and along with the staff thing is you can look at what you're doing and say, you know what, I'm feeling really kind of burnt out, and and just being able to say, I think that I cannot take this task on for myself. I am going to look to see if somebody else can. And honestly, they can probably do it just as good as you, or maybe even better. So,
Well, I know one of your employees, your daughter did some. I think had a post about she did some graphic design work for a new logo,
yes.
possibly. What's it been like having her along for this journey, and kind of what are you hoping to teach her through all this?
Yeah, so she's been part of Paws and Claws since she was 4 months old. So it's been quite the road. She's now about to be 6, and it's just so cool because she sees the passion that I have, and just she loves animals herself. So she gets to see that, and she calls all of our staff members my work friends, which is really cute. um, she knows a lot of them.
Yeah.
And it's just cool that she's seen me through some difficult things, and she's seen me tackle some difficult things, but she also sees how passionate I am, how much I care, and most importantly, she sees that I will always prioritize her and our family, and protect our time, which I think is really important for a child of a business owner to see.
It's also really hard, isn't that? But that lesson of, hey, the business is important, and it can be, you can fall into that perspective of, hey, do you like the food? Right? Do you like the house? Well, then I have to go do this work, and I've got to do all this stuff. Instead, going, no, you are important. Yeah, the business it does need me from time to time, and we do have to make some sacrifices for that. It's going to happen, but the primary way that we're going to act, right, that is that you matter, and that all this stuff is going to be and will be put aside to have time together.
Yes, and it is so hard. And let me tell you, the mom guilt, the dad guilt, it is real sometimes. But they see it. They see you working hard. They know that you're trying, and as long as you try to show that they are a priority, they'll feel loved and important.
I love that. I love that, Corinne, and it's really exciting to see all that you're working on, and seeing your business and what you share and the Pawsome Metrics that you've got going on. I really want to thank you for coming on the show today and sharing all that and encouraging us to be better about our numbers, and reminding us that we can own the business and that it's important to make those decisions when necessary. There's a lot going on here, and so if people want to get connected with you, follow along, and check out Pawsome Metrics, how best can they do that?
Yes, so we have a Facebook page called Pawsome Metrics. And we also have our shop at pawsomemetrics.com. You can contact me there. And yeah, I hope that you enjoy it.
Perfect. Well, I will have those links in the show notes and on the website so people can get clicked there and get connected and start seeing if that's going to work for them. And then just go check out all the awesome stuff that you're working on. Corinne, thank you so much again for coming on the show today. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
You own your own business so you can make it your own. When we realize the complete and utter freedom that truly gives us, we can embrace the challenges, we can embrace opportunities with a growth mindset and a look towards a brighter future. One where we're not involved in drudgery, one where we're not dreading the next dog walk. Instead, one that we can run into hearts open and glad to be doing what we're doing. In order to make those decisions, though, we have to know what kind of business we're running. And that's why our data, our information, our metrics are so important. That truly is the transformative power, not so much for our business, but for our mindset. We want to thank today's sponsors, Time to Pet and Pet Perennials, for making this show possible. And we really want to thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll be back again soon.